What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out one of the latest phones from TECNO. The one that we have here today is called the TECNO Pova 6 Pro 5G, and we are also going to be comparing this with the VIVO V30. The VIVO V30 here was released about 3 weeks ago. Now keep in mind that out of the two devices, the TECNO device here is the cheaper device, much cheaper in fact when compared to the V30 here, so keep that in mind. I've also included a short camera comparison between these two devices, and if you want to check out that camera comparison, that one starts at this minute of this video. Alright, with that being said, let's check out the boxes and see what comes in the box with each device. Alright, so both devices get fairly large boxes when compared to most other phones that we get these days, and inside each box you're gonna find a case for each device. We also have some booklets, we have a cable. With the TECNO device you also get some earbuds, something that we do not get with the VIVO device, and then in the box of the V30 we get a 80-watt charger, where in the box of the TECNO Pova 6 Pro here we get a 70-watt fast charger. So both devices support fast charging as well. As for batteries inside each device, inside the TECNO Pova 6 Pro here we have a 6000 mAh battery, where inside the VIVO V30 we have a 5000 mAh battery. The TECNO device can also do reverse charging, so you could plug in another phone and charge it from this device. And since we have a least powerful CPU inside this device, you'll also get better battery life from the TECNO compared to the VIVO V30, which already gets really good battery life as well. I've also noticed that for charging options, the TECNO device does have more charging options like bypass charging in the settings, something that we do not get with the VIVO V30. So something to keep in mind if you play a lot of games. Moving on to performance, well, here you're gonna find the biggest difference in between these two devices. So inside the TECNO Pova 6 Pro here we have the MediaTek Dimensity 6080, where inside the VIVO V30 here we have the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3. So if I open the AnTuTu benchmark on both devices, you can see the scores that we get. So yes, we get a much higher score on the VIVO V30. So yes, this is the more powerful device out of the two. Interesting to see that both devices run quite cool. So even if you're playing games or anything like that, neither device gets that hot. However, the VIVO V30 is the better device out of the two. Now, with that being said, you can still play games on either device, you can still do video editing, you can use any application that you want. So both devices do still perform really well, but overall the VIVO V30 is the more powerful device out of the two. If we go back here, so let me just go back here and storage test, you can also see the speeds that we get for the internal storage. So in my case, I have the version that has 256 gigs of internal storage for the TECNO device, so this one, and 12 gigs of RAM, and the VIVO V30 here has 512 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM. So performance-wise, yes, the VIVO V30 is the more powerful device. Moving on to screens, well, things are a bit different here, mostly because the screen on the TECNO device is a flat screen, where the screen on the VIVO V30 is a curved screen. Now, a couple of years ago, I would probably prefer the curved screen on the VIVO V30, but these days I kind of want to see flat screens on all devices. So both devices have a 6.78-inch screen, so same screen size. It does seem like the edges around the screen, the bezels around the screen are somewhat smaller on the VIVO device, but I do prefer the way the Pova device feels in my hand. Now, they have a similar resolution, they have the same 120 Hz refresh rate, but the peak brightness on the VIVO device is 2800 nits, where the peak brightness on the Pova 6 Pro is 1300 nits. Now, even though on paper there is a big difference, when I actually take these phones outside, there isn't that big of a difference as I thought. So I'm almost wondering if the VIVO V30 2800 peak brightness is not exactly real. So you can still see both devices really well outside in direct sunlight. Another small difference that we have in between these devices on the front is the fact that the TECNO device actually has a front for the front-facing cameras. So that's definitely going to make a difference if you're taking pictures at night, so selfies at night. We don't have anything like that on the VIVO device on the front. Both devices also have in-screen fingerprint scanners, and it almost looks like the VIVO V30 has the somewhat faster fingerprint scanner. Of course, you're only going to be able to tell if you have both phones side by side, but it looks to me that it does have the somewhat faster fingerprint scanner. Moving on to design, well, here it really depends how you like your phone to look. If you want a more flashy looking phone, the Pova device is definitely for you. If you want a more understated device, the VIVO V30 will do better for that. On the back of the Pova device, we also have some LEDs that light up. On the back of the VIVO V30, we only have that light around the camera. So that light is used for portrait mode pictures. So it really depends how you like your phone. I'm gonna say that the Pova device does feel a bit cheaper when compared to the V30. Now, the frames on both devices are also a bit different. The frame on the Pova device does feel a bit cheaper, but let's keep in mind that that phone is also cheaper. And very good to know, the Pova device does have two speakers, so one at the top, one at the bottom, where the VIVO device only has one speaker. So much better sound from the TECNO device when compared to the VIVO. Another thing that I've noticed is the fact that on the Pova device we have a 3.5mm audio jack, where on the VIVO V30 we do not have that. Plus we also get earbuds in the box for the TECNO device. So win some, lose some, I'm gonna say. The Pova device does have more, well, design features, let's call it. And something I forgot to mention, the TECNO Pova 6 Pro can also take an SD card and two SIM cards at the same time, where the VIVO V30 cannot take an SD card, but yes, it can take two SIM cards at the same time. So I know that is an important factor for many of you. Alright, and next we are moving on to cameras, and taking a quick look at the Pova device, it looks like we have a lot of cameras on the back there, but in reality we only have one camera on the back there. So the main camera, there is no ultra-wide lens, and maybe another camera that's used for portrait mode pictures. On the back of the V30 we have the main camera and an ultra-wide camera. And next, what you're seeing on your screen are basically pictures that I took during the day with both devices. All the pictures are taken on auto mode and about a second apart from each other. Now, here I can't really say that one is so much better than the other one. For daytime pictures, I feel that most phones these days will do quite well. And this is the case for these two devices, even though one of them is kind of cheap and the other one, well, kind of a medium range phone. So for daytime pictures, both devices will do quite good for taking pictures. And of course, these are some samples that I took with both these devices over the past couple of days. Alright, and moving on to some nighttime pictures. Once again, both devices have a night mode, and all the pictures that you are seeing on your screen were taken using that night mode. Now, here it does seem like the VIVO V30 does a bit better for those pictures. The pictures are a bit brighter. The pictures from the Pova 6 Pro do have a bit more noise in them, and they're also a bit darker. Now, for a phone that's this affordable, I think that it does decent enough, but if we would be to compare the two devices, of course, the VIVO V30 will do better for those nighttime pictures. So just so you get an idea how the pictures would look like. Next, we're gonna move on and check out some sample recordings. So the maximum recording resolution on the VIVO V30 is 4K at 30, and the maximum recording resolution on the TECNO Pova 6 Pro is 2K at 30 frames per second. However, at that resolution, we don't get video stabilization. So you're really better off to record in 1080p at 30 because you do have video stabilization at that resolution. So let me play those recordings and I will be right back. Alright, we have a quick video recording between the TECNO Pova 6 Pro and of course the VIVO V30. I'm using the main cameras on the back of both devices and recording at the maximum recording resolution for both devices. So the maximum recording resolution on the Pova 6 Pro is 2K at 30 frames per second, where the maximum recording resolution on the VIVO V30 is 4K at 30 frames per second. So that is the resolution that I'm using. I'm gonna walk this way for a bit, just so you can see how that video stabilization works on both devices. We'll stop somewhere around here. I'm gonna pan left slowly. And we'll turn and walk towards the bicycle. So this is how recording done with the main camera on the back of the Pova 6 Pro would look like. Alright, so let me quickly show you how 1080p at 30 frames per second between these two devices would look like, of course, with that main camera. So if you're recording in 1080p at 30 frames per second, then you do get video stabilization for the TECNO Pova 6 Pro. If you're recording in 2K, you do not get video stabilization. So you're probably better off to record in 1080p at 30 frames per second. Let me quickly show you how this works if you're walking. We're gonna stop here and pan around. We're gonna walk this way for a bit. So main cameras 1080p at 30 frames per second with both devices. Alright, and we're moving on to a quick recording done at night, so basically in low light between this TECNO device and the VIVO V30. For this recording I'm doing 4K at 30 frames per second with the V30 and 1080p at 30 frames per second with the Pova 6 Pro. So we're just gonna walk this way. We'll stop somewhere around here, I guess, and we're gonna pan right slowly. And kind of down, I guess, and back this way. So this is how recording done in low light between these two devices would look like. So there you have it. This was a super quick look at the latest device from TECNO, the TECNO Pova 6 Pro. Now I know that this comparison wasn't exactly fair because the VIVO V30 is more of a mid-range device, where the TECNO Pova 6 Pro here is much more affordable. So not exactly the fairest comparison out there, but I don't have any other budget-friendly phones here to compare the two. And I figured this way I'll give you an idea of how this phone looks and how it would perform compared to something a bit more expensive. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.